What's up, everybody? I am Kenzie.
I'm AT, and this is Sippin.
This ain't a sip and see.
But come sip and see. Change perspectives.
You sound better,
Yeah. Spirits are shown.
Get into it. If you're not into it,
Our
that's
words,
fine.
our action.
Sippin,
A Gen Z millennial vibe. Sippin, a Gen Z millennial vibe.
We gonna get into it.
Yes.
We just need to go ahead and get this thing going.
I am.
Alan, what are you sipping on?
Today I am sipping on some Stella Rosa watermelon wine.
Stella Rosa watermelon wine.
Yes, it's sweet.
Wow.
It's giving
okay.
summer even though it's fall.
Okay. All right, you better change it up. Well, today I am just drinking water. I felt like it was important for me to purify this weekend. So I just had me some good cold water with just a splash of lemon.
Today we have a very special guest.
He's a wonderful counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace. He's a wonderful counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace. When you're down and out and you need someone to talk to, he's a wonderful counselor. Yes, he is. Yeah. He's a wonderful counselor. Yes, he is.
Hallelujah. Glory to God.
Miss Angela Burchett, can you go ahead and tell us what you are sipping today?
I am having some tropical punch protein water.
Ooh.
Tropical Punch protein water.
Yes. It's something a new discovery I made. Because I'm big on getting my protein in. So, when you get tired of drinking protein shakes, you can have a water. And they have, so far I found them in tropical punch and grape.
Wow, how much protein is in it?
20 grams. And the bottle is about 17 ounces.
Now the real question is, how does it taste?
It's so good.
Okay.
Honest to goodness. Now I wouldn't want to drink it every day, but it'll get you through. It'll get you through.
Yeah. No, because you said something about some sangria earlier, so I know it's every day.
Now, why you gonna have to put me out there like that?
I did, but it's Sunday. They don't know if it was communion or not, or you can pretend like it was.
Well, listen, this is first Sunday, and communion happened at church today.
Come on, listen. So you are owed that sangria.
Yes.
You are. I'm very excited to introduce a good friend of mine, Miss Angela Burchett, who is a Broadway actress, but you all probably know her as Jacky Clark Chisholm in the Clark Sisters First Ladies of Gospel. Hello, Angela.
Hey.
You ready to get into it?
Let's get all the way into it. I'm ready.
Okay, good, because we be sipping on sipping.
Oh, yes.
Okay, Angela. I don't know if you remember this. I remember it vividly. We met in Chicago on the national tour of The Color Purple. I think it was a 2017.
You were on the tour?
I was not on the tour.
Okay.
I got to witness Angela's amazing performance on the tour in Chicago.
Okay, good.
And we met after the show. And I remember telling you I knew Kenzie, and we took a picture. And I just remember you're such a sweet person, and your spirit is so joyful and generous and kind. I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I remember us talking. I remember. You're so sweet too.
Thank you.
But you were just so chill and kind. It was a pleasure to chat and talk with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what Alan is not saying is that he is absolutely obsessed with The Color Purple. When I first met Alan, and I have lots of challenges with that particular show, but he loved it, and he did not care that I didn't. Alan, what is it about the show that you love so much? And maybe Angela can come in and talk about those things and how it relates, with her and her experience being on the Broadway stage in the show, but also the national tour.
So I first actually saw the Broadway production in 2015, and immediately I fell in love with just the story of a Black woman experiencing so much trauma, but also coming to triumph toward the end of the show. And it was so inspiring also just to see the levels of Black women's kinship and the way Black women interact with one another and uplift one another. That was just so paramount for me watching that show. And I saw it with my mom, and sitting there next to her and watching another Black woman go through all of this and pull herself and of course have the help of others pull her through that. It made me actually understand my mother even that much more, because she has experiences that she's told me about, and seeing it on stage like that put it all into perspective for me. And just the spiritual, the heart of that show, I can feel the Spirit of God moving through the lyrics, through the musical composition, and the way that the show was staged, the way it was musically directed by Jason. What is it? Jason Michael Webb. Yeah. That was just outstanding to me. It's probably my favorite show that I've seen.
Alan's talking, about womanhood, I guess coupled with Blackness in the show. So can you talk about your journey with the show as a Black woman?
Well, my journey with the show was just probably from start to finish magical for so many reasons. I've been in New York 15 years. It'll be 15 years in January. And, a lot of shows that seemingly were like perfect for me always seemed to elude me, including this show. Mm-hmm. When they first were auditioning, in the beginning, they weren't even seeing people that didn't have certain things on their resume, or, that John was not, interested in seeing, which, kind of, when I heard that, kind of put a little bad taste in my mouth. But I said, people will probably leave the show, or, things will change. And if it comes up again for me, it's cool. But I was also at a place in my life where I had been at this for 10 years. And I said, if this year, which was 2016, if things don't kind of, go in a certain direction, I'm really going to start looking at other things. I enjoy other things. I do live music. I'm a studio session singer. I do all types of things. So I was kind of at that point that, like, people, I guess, kind of come to where they say, I'm this age. I put so much into this. I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing my work, and it's just not happening. So maybe it could be I'm barking up the wrong tree or something like that. Mm-hmm. And in a matter of months, like maybe 2 months of me kind of internally stating to myself, the show, I don't want to say it dropped in my lap, but it was really mine to lose. Honestly, in hindsight, they kind of went to the cast and said, hey guys, we need a female swing to cover pretty much everyone except, Celie, the principals. We need an ensemble girl that can cover all of these things. Do you guys know anybody? Because we got to kind of move fast. We've got to start giving y'all vacations, and we don't really have time to do a long blah, blah, blah. So from what I'm told, before they could get the sentence out, everybody in the cast that knew me, which was about 90% of the cast, said, Angela Burchett, you have to call her. Like, she's the perfect person for this. And I feel a little knot in my chest. I do. I'm not gonna lie. I apologize if I get a little choked up, because just it to go from, I was doing bands and I was making a lot of money actually. So my life wasn't horrible, but it wasn't what I came here for. And I kept trying to figure out, why am I chasing this thing that seems like is not for me? It doesn't want me, but the years leading up to it, I started, hosting a residency that became really popular. So people like Jason Michael Webb and his partner Leland Thompson and Savion Glover and all these folks would come and enjoy the show and kind of got to know me for real, not just when I walk in the room for 16 bars. So when my name started getting thrown around, they all were like, oh, yeah, definitely. But of course, John Doyle had to be the gatekeeper for that. Right. So
John Doyle is the director.
Yes, John Doyle, who is a very prominent Broadway director and is known for taking shows and kind of flipping them, reworking them, reimagining them. They called my rep and said, hey, we want to bring her in. This is going to be Fast and Furious. It was the week before Tony's, the Tony Awards. So I would know that week if I booked it and would be starting rehearsals like the next Tuesday after that. Wow. I'm on a short list of women who I have admired, who I have watched in performance and have been so moved, or they're friends of mine that I'm thinking, wow, I don't have any Broadway credits. I'm the girl everybody in here knows, but I don't have what they have. I kind of had to really dig down in myself. It was the old Telsey building, and I had to go back downstairs because I literally felt myself hyperventilating because I had coached and I had worked and I knew this stuff. I was dressed right. And Jason's partner was my coach, who already was my coach, and not because of this. He had already been coaching me on things. And he said, honey, you just have to go in there and be honest. Be you. Don't be anything else. And I went in there and I did, they brought me in and I did the stuff and I walked out. They didn't say anything. I'm going in the bathroom, putting my clothes back on. And I'm, of course, my heart's in my stomach because I'm like, oh, well, here's just another letdown. Long story short, the day was going to go like this. They saw maybe 20, 25 girls. They were going to cut it down to 2, come back at 5. John's going to be in the room and he's going to decide tonight. So it's down to me and another young lady who is a friend of mine who is a fierce actress, fierce singer, could absolutely do the job. Mm-hmm. Still, I'm thinking...
Were you all in front of each other? Like, was she there as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, okay. They called all of us in at one time. It was like a 2:00 call. All the women are there. We're all in the lobby. Everybody's looking at everybody. You know the drill. And then everybody gets cut except she and I. They all leave. And she goes and, does whatever she does. I sit there and I just gather myself, my ass, all of it. And 5:00 rolls around. John Doyle walks in, goes in the room, and I go first. Did it, and for big auditions, I always have a picture of my twin nieces. They're my goddaughters, but they call me auntie. And we're not blood related, but I'm literally like their other mom. They have pulled me through some really tough times just by them their presence demanding my presence to show up. And so I had their picture in my pocket, and I just touched it, and I said, okay, this is it. And I went in, I did the material, and John, I felt like a warmth kind of come over the room. And John, they told me, if John starts asking you stuff about you personally, that's a good sign. So he starts asking me about where I went to college and my parents and all these things and, all the things. And that was that. He gave me maybe one adjustment, did it, and that was that. And when I walked in the room, he said, oh, you're dressed like Sophia, which was not on purpose. I hadn't even seen the show yet, so I didn't even know what Sophia wears, but it was lined up. Long story short, I'm at Leland's house the next day coaching for a television rehearsal, audition actually, and I take a break to go to the bathroom. My agent calls me and tells me that I booked it. I think I broke the garbage can in their bathroom. And when I opened the door, Jason is at the door with tears running down his face. And he said, babe, you were fantastic. You were fantastic. You are exactly, your energy and your spirit is what our show needs. I knew it. Maddie knew it. We just had to, John knew it, but we had to, we had to go through the motions really, but you earned that. We didn't give that to you. So welcome. And I came to the theater, and the first person I ran into on an off day, because this was like a Monday, I opened the door. Cynthia just happens to be at the theater. And she said, oh, my love, welcome. We're so happy to have you. I'm so excited, with my terrible British accent.
I was just about to say, girl, that's the coaching you need to go get.
It's horrible. Sometimes it just has to be the right thing at the right time, and you have to be in the right place. Over the years of working with the show and going on tour and really getting a chance to work directly with John, here and there, I found ways to reconcile some issues that I had with the show. In terms of, how we are positioned and how we express ourselves musically.
Well, this is the perfect time for me to say that is my challenge with The Color Purple, in that I do think, and I did not see the second production of The Color Purple. I didn't see the John duo. I saw the original one. And it is because of the reasons that you just said, that you have folk who don't know the culture. In our P-Valley episode, we talk about, the importance of being specific in playing Black, but also Black South. Like, it is a very specific thing. And I can see that tension on most Broadway stages that are directed or choreographed by non-Black people when the story is rooted in Blackness, and that tension for me is always present, and so stripping the show down to make it bare and minimal, to me, does not change the book. It doesn't change the music, and even with a Black person, being musical director, and as sweet and as generous as both he and Leland are, believe it or not, this year at midnight, when I'm not going to say my age, when I turned my age, I was at their home in LA, which is really interesting. Because you talk about, the impact of this British director, and also the impact of, Cynthia Erivo, British Black woman, playing this Southern woman, and also receiving, maybe not with this play, but definitely for Harriet, receiving a lot of backlash from the Black public, American Black public. Can you just talk about that? Not, her story, because you're not her, but just the British influence on this production.
Yeah. Well, I found it very interesting particularly when I was working on the Broadway production, and we changed. At my time there, we changed principal cast members a couple of times, so we had a lot of opportunity to kind of go back to basics and look at things, because they wanted to kind of build the new person into the show, but bring who they were to it, blah blah blah, and just kind of freshen the show up. And so one of the things that struck me as interesting was that British directing and the approach to acting that they find difficult to contend with American actors is this sense of American actors are too sentimental. They feel too much.
What does that mean?
Yeah. There's a note on feeling emotional that we see in acting that you just don't see in British acting, according to John. I wasn't super excited about kind of how we did group numbers, because there was this influence of kind of keep the lid on it. Let's not get too moved. Let's not get too worked up. And I don't know if that was to create such a difference from the original production, and in conjunction with this whole notion that American actors, Black, white, or otherwise, get too sentimental. Whatever he truly meant by that.
That's crazy to me, and it's making me want to move on because it's making me mad. But because that is so un-Black. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are emotional. We are, and especially American Black, because of our experience. Look at the political climate right now. So, like, for me, the show has failed, and I'm glad I didn't see it.
Boy. Well, may I interject
Which, of
also, though,
course, yeah.
that I think a lot of it, and when I say I think, it's my interpretation of his, several moments in rehearsals and note sessions where he's explaining a lot of things and he's giving, his backstory, or his, not backstory, but like his support for why he is making this choice or sending us in this direction, is that he feels that in, he would say, quote unquote, other productions, which we know you mean the original, that a lot of the book got lost because of this notion of everything has to be hype.
But see, that's my whole point, that just by stripping and making the stage bare, he feels like he got closer to the book because his focus is language. But he doesn't understand that there is a heart that happens that is exposed and that is going to come out automatically, innately, in this particular show that is about so much gut-wrenching emotion.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy to me.
Now, Angela, you have a history of your shows being around Black women's kinship, including Dreamgirls, and of course, Color Purple, and most recently, the Clark Sisters movie.
Yeah.
So, first of all, can you
Yes.
just tell us a little bit about how that process was of first getting into the movie, but also the rehearsal process and preparing for that role, and even your relationship with Jacky?
So I was still on tour. We were getting ready to finish up, and my good friend Michael Chen, who is an exec over at Lifetime, who I met at Lights Out. This is just another case of things all aligning, because before that I didn't know him.
He was still working for
Alvin Ailey.
Alvin Ailey,
Yep.
right? He was their tour manager,
Yep, company manager. And a friend had brought him to Lights Out for his birthday and said, "You got to hear this girl. We're going to have such a good time." And he's one of those people that has this thing about him that clicked with me. And we literally stayed friends since then. So, word came down the pike over at Lifetime that there was talks that this was a strong possibility that this was going to be in their whatever season. So he called me and he said, "Hey, I just want to put a bug in your ear that this is happening and you need to get up in there." So soon as, they're ready to start casting, I'll make sure that, I can't do anything extra, but I will definitely make sure I push your name up there so that when it's time to send out stuff to go on tape, you're in there. And that's what happened. Long story short, they had me read for 3 sisters, actually. The first sister I read for was Twinkie. And then I didn't read for any more for a long time. So once again, I thought, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm out, but word was coming back, because I kind of had the inside track. That they loved me. They were like, "Man, who is this girl?" Twinkie Bird was casted. Everybody knows Twinkie. She's been around for years and years and years. And she's also good friends with Michael, and said, "Yo, who is this girl? Why is this the first time I've seen her? This is ridiculous. Where is she? Why is she in New York? Oh, she's a theater girl. Well, she needs to get her ass to LA. She's beautiful. She did wonderful with the materials. She can sing. The camera, she was just going off. And I'm like, whoa. I was not expecting that feedback. And normally you wouldn't get that.
Twinkie Bird, who is a casting director. So Twinkie Clark did not cast the movie, but it was Twinkie Bird. And Twinkie Bird has cast lots of movies like Stomp the Yard, Notorious, Jumping the Broom, Woman Thou Art Loosed, Fruitvale Station, and Black Nativity. I auditioned for that movie. She ain't put me in it, but she put me in the next one.
Yes, man. Big shout out to Tracy. Her name is Tracy. Tracy
Right.
Bird.
Yeah.
Big shout out to her because she really was and still is. Like I can give her a call and she's always like, "Are you doing this? Are you doing that? You got to do this." No, we got we black women, so we got to do
Do
this.
you know what's crazy is that I was working at the Brooklyn Museum and she came up, and I guess because she is very nice. She's a very nice woman. She came up, and I guess we got to talking, and I guess I mentioned that I was an actor, and she was like, "Oh, you don't know who I am?" She said, "Google me," and walked away.
Ooh,
And guess what I did?
you Googled her.
I went and Googled her,
Googled her.
and my face fell to the floor. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so ultimately they sent me more sides, and when it came down, and when I got, and Jacky was the very last one I got, and as soon as I got the material, I was like, "Yep, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one." And just for me knowing, I mean, I've always been obsessed with the Clark sisters. I have two sisters. We sang all of their stuff growing up in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. We're from the same town. I didn't grow up Koji, but I grew up Apostolic, which is basically the same thing.
Basically the same. Y'all was running praise laps.
That's right. And speaking in tongues and
carrying in the room.
Oh yeah, Terry, you don't get up till them tongues come.
The tongues come, right.
And then missionary tell you, "Oh no, honey, that's not tongues, that's stammering lips. Come back next Sunday. You ain't got it. You don't got it. That's not it. That's just you tired. Your tongue is stammering. Come back next week."
Yeah.
So it just, once again, just like The Color Purple, it kind of all came together. Just everything aligned, and called me. They made me the offer. I flipped out. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. And just around the time that they told me I had booked it was Christmas time, and I go home every Christmas. So I said, "Hey, so I need to get a meeting with Jacky. I want to sit down and talk to her. I need to talk to her outside of her performing or stuff on YouTube. I want to watch her. I want to see her mannerisms. I want to really see what she'll share." And what I thought was going to turn into it'd be a 30-minute talk or something, because it was like right after Christmas, like the day after Christmas or something like that, turned into literally like a 4-hour cackling session. She is the auntie that you love and you just want to be around. She told the truth. Ooh, that woman tells the truth, and she don't care, because her motto is, "My truth is my truth. Karen got her truth, Dorinda got her truth, Twinkie got hers, and Denise got hers, and I got mine. And if you don't like your part in it, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry." And that's probably why we saw a lot of Jacky in the story, because Jacky was really very vocal. She was not afraid. She told me stuff that I'm thinking, now, lady, you don't know me from Adam's House Cat. You probably shouldn't be telling me this. But she said, "No, I want you to," because I don't know. She didn't know what was going to be in the story, because the script was still being rewritten and revised. She said, "But I want you to have as much as you can have so you can tell this thing honestly, because, we know that Jacky is the one that everybody is like, oh, Jacky don't sound like them. She can't really sing like them." She went through a lot. And what people finally learned, I hope they learned through the film, is that even though, no, she wasn't leading all the songs on the albums, and she wasn't Karen or Dorinda or Twinkie, she was the anchor. She was the reason why, once Maddie left the scene, business deals wasn't falling through. And they was getting, "No, you're not about to pay us $10,000. You about to pay us this. And not one note gonna get sang till I see the check." And that's what and I'm a big sister. I'm the oldest of 3 girls. So I understood, and we from the same town. Our cadence is the same. She's loud like me. She say crazy stuff, and she's funny. And I said, "Auntie Jacky, this is going to be an honor to play you, and I'm so excited. And thank you for just being open and honest with me." And throughout the process, she was, "Any questions you have, please feel free to call me day or night." When they came to set to shoot, we had a good old time, and it was just funny kind of them seeing us dressed like them back in the early 2000s, and and then meeting Anjanou Ellis. And I've probably never seen anything more touching in my life than to see 3 grown women break down into a mess for 20 minutes, because their mother walked in that room, because Anjanou Ellis straight bodied every moment of that movie that she was in.
Well, you know, I
Oh,
told you. You know, I told you the movie was about 20 minutes too long, and it should have been over when she died. That's when the movie should have just been ended. It should have probably been called the Mattie Moss Clark story.
Right. I don't disagree with any of that.
Ingenue Ellis is a favorite of ours over here. So can you talk more about just what was it like being around her, even to talk about her process maybe that you
Yeah.
saw? Did she say she went off in a closet and had to scream sometimes to get her voice
yeah.
right?
I had her on back in the summer. I was trying to do a little series, but she was the only one I nailed down. But I was, I wanted to, if I'm gonna be on Instagram talking, and I wanted to talk about something, and I just be sitting there hearing the same questions everybody's heard us ask or answer. So what I wanted to bring, what I brought her on about was, I just called it An Actor Prepares, and we wanted to talk about process. And like a lot of people don't really know or are privy to see actors, particularly of her caliber, what they go through to prepare for a role. So both there and just in our own little emails and little chats when I ask her stuff, she just shares with me how, a lot of people think, because I do this, that, things just come when they see the final product, that they think it just came out that way. She said, this movie really challenged me. There were moments when I kind of wanted to give up on myself a little bit because I felt like I just wasn't nailing it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, lady, what? But then she explained, she used the example of, already she's not a singer. Like she'll tell you that I'm not a singer. I can get by, but I'm not a singer. I'm an actor. And all of them pretty much, and particularly Dr. Mattie, had this particular sound when they spoke, when they sang. And she was struggling with the fact that she couldn't seem to get that part of her physicality for the role. So one day we were shooting, it was the scene when we're talking about Twinkie comes in to tell us that she sold her catalog, and Maddie's explaining to us what happened, and she's like loses it with her. And so we had to kind of keep stopping that, and Ingenue would walk off, and we were filming in this tiny little house, and we were in the kitchen of the house. So there wasn't really,
Where were y'all?
we were in Toronto.
In
In the dead of winter, so it was freezing cold in the house, outside of the house, snow everywhere. It was crazy. I felt like I was in boot camp or something. But we're literally in the close-ups. We're all in like UGG boots or whatever, thermal boots, because the house was so cold that anytime we weren't in a full shot, we needed them because our feet were like numb. But we're standing there like we're sitting around the table eating breakfast. It was so crazy. But she would leave and go into like a closet somewhere, and we would hear her like scream. And I'm thinking. Then I was thinking, oh, this lady is crazy. Why is she screaming? Like somebody is, like it sounded like an argument, like somebody's arguing and they just decided to scream at the person. That's what it sounded like. And she would come back in and we'd do it again, and she'd stop and be like, no, And so now down the road, as we're talking about it, she was saying, I was doing that, not a great choice on my part, but I was doing that because I was trying to like make myself hoarse. I was trying to like manufacture this raspiness, and it just wasn't happening. But the brilliant thing that she said to me was, that's when you're training as an actor and your instincts as an actor kick in. Transfer the power that you think is in the sound of her voice into her choices, into her presence. And that's exactly what she did.
Thank you for sharing my little video that I made interviewing her. I know you said her comments back to me were from me, but she's so generous and nice, and I thank you for sharing.
Oh
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell her to put me in something. She likes her damn much. Obviously, the movie was about singing, so we have to talk about, you and music. And you mentioned your sisters. I remember many years ago, you introduced me to your sisters, and we were sitting. I think we were at a restaurant, and y'all sang. I think it was the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to just throw the ketchup across the room, first of all, and then y'all sang it. Y'all had no rehearsal. y'all sang it very soft and sweet, and that harmony was it was amazing. So, let's talk about your journey in music.
Oh yeah. Well, it's so funny how much my life parallels people lives like the Clark sisters. My Maddie Moss Clark was Anthony Jerome Burchett.
Come on.
Still is. He's still my.
God, you love your daddy.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, I love that man. He
You
gets
love your
on my
daddy.
entire nerves, but I love him so because he is my biggest cheerleader. He is the person, not the only person, but a huge person. excuse me, in my life who will just not allow me to do less, be less. Mm-hmm. He's like, no. Since I laid eyes on you, I knew that you had something special. So don't you let nothing in you or outside of you get in the way of that. I don't care.
But your father is a musician too, right?
Yeah, my dad was in like guy groups, like Temptation-esque type groups, because my dad was a teenager, early 20s back during like when the Temptations and the Supremes were big time in Detroit. And he actually was in a group called the Compliments that used to open up for the Temptations. So he tells me stories all the time of hanging out with David Ruffin in his house, and him and Melvin were really cool. And like he went to school with Diana. They went to this. No, not Diana.
Wow.
He went to school.
Your daddy was getting lit with David?
No, he wasn't, because my grandma ain't play that. So
she didn't play that, okay.
Nah, he got a little while later, but back then, no. Now, he was up in the mix, but he wasn't,
okay.
Most he did was the beer and the weed or whatever. He wasn't out there being wild,
Right.
But, and he was a little bit younger than them, kind of like you just 21, 22. So you really shouldn't even be hanging with us, but, Tony's cool. That was the thing. Oh, Tony's cool. He could come hang. He could come kick it with us. But that was his.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, that was his thing. And my dad can sing. Like, I mean, they called him One Take Tony, because my father would go in the studio and lay vocals down in one take, and they would be like, "Oh, we don't need no more takes. We got it." And so that's the kind of thing I grew up under. My father was a musician. He was a band leader for, oh my God, 20 years or so, 20, 30 years. So I watched him lead a band. I watched him rehearse musicians. I sat on the basement steps when his group in the 80s, the Federal Reserve, they were kind of like a 80s kind of R&B funk band. I used to sit there and watch them rehearse and watch the lead female vocalists. And, and then when my sisters came along, I was like the leader. I had to make sure, we were learning our little songs. And my dad was like Joe Jackson. It was like, oh no.
Did he encourage you all to start a group? Because y'all had a group, right?
And he wasn't very happy when I left to go to college. He felt like I broke up the group. But
really?
Yeah, that was kind of a traumatic thing we kind of had to work through.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's crazy.
Yeah. For a long time, I didn't know this, but my sisters resented me because they were thinking, oh, we're going to be this group. And, I just had a lot going on. I wanted to go to college. I don't know that I necessarily wanted to be in a group exclusively. I wanted to get to explore that. And I grew up in the church, so I wasn't no exploring. I directed choirs. I sang with my sisters, and I sang with girl groups in high school. So I didn't get a chance. I hadn't explored anything. And, when you my parents were younger when they had us. We don't come out with a manual. So, looking back, he's like, God, I made so many mistakes. But, things worked out, thank God. But we had to work through that because, they really kind of looked to me to be the glue for that. And they felt like I just kind of walked away. So, but we still to this day, when we get together, we'll sing, we'll play around and sing stuff.
But they're still singing, right?
Well, they actually are a songwriting team. They do more of that than they do singing. Okay. Now, they do sing. They are artists as well. They put out a couple of albums that are exquisite. I love them.
You've been doing these IG Live shows, and I know you talked about talking to Anjanou, but you've been doing music shows too, right?
Oh, yeah. I've done some fundraisers. Well, not fundraisers, more charity things. I've done a couple of Broadway sessions where they've done, I know one is a Joe Biden fundraiser I did another Black Lives Matter one. But then me personally, I got with the fellas that, do Lights Out with me. And we say, guys, we're going to, once we feel safe enough to be, around each other, a couple of us, let's get together and let's just do what we do virtually. And it's growing. People, I think people still, aren't super aware that we do it, but people come and it's kind of like it's not quite like Lights Out. It's kind of like watching us in a shed session to prepare for Lights Out. We do full performances, but you get us arguing and you get us stopping to fix a tempo, or me fussing. I'm always fussing at Taraka and he's always arguing with me about something, or we'll have a guest pianist that also sings and we'll let them feature and just enjoy each other as musicians. And it's really, really been a lifesaver for us during this pandemic because, y'all know y'all artists, part of the way we get through our lives is expression. And when that gets taken away, that's uncharted territory.
Well, drop your social media so folk know where to go listen to you.
Yes, we do the lives on my Facebook artist page, which is just my regular name, Angela Burchett. We do that on Mondays. Not every Monday. You just kind of got to check me out, follow me, like my artist page. And also on Instagram, I always post there. And that's the same thing, Angela Burchett. You can follow me there. I try to keep up to date with all the places I'm virtually appearing.
So, Angela, can you tell us a bit about how you're feeling about this We See You movement that has taken over the theater artist space?
Did you sign your name on the?
I did sign my name, but actually, I just saw something in my email that really bothered me, and it made me feel like, you know what, we need our own. Because the reality is, y'all us, whatever, waiting around for them to cower to our demands ain't gonna happen. I just got an email about some casting officer, some voice teacher or something that is offering scholarships to train people of color to learn how to really sing Christine from Phantom of the Opera. And I wanted to break my phone. My first thought was, what makes you think that we're sitting at home hoping someone out there will take the time to teach us little darkies how to sing Christine from Phantom of the Opera? And we need a scholarship. It was specifically for what do they call it? BIPOC. This is specifically for BIPOC people. Like, we can't pay if we wanted to pay for this because we.
Also, Phantom of the Opera is boring as shit, so nobody wants to go say nothing.
And even if you go through all of this and you get somebody to sound real great and be great, they're never hiring a Black Christine. So stop with the and even if they were. I don't want to play her. I don't want to be in Phantom of the Opera. So this is what I'm saying. I really feel like we have got to shift our focus. We have got to stop asking these people to let us in. And we have to shut the door. Hey, bye-bye. Shut the door behind them. Let them go in their own door. Shut it. And we go over here and we do for us, by us, with us. And that's it.
Agree. I know theater folk. And I've not been on Broadway, but I know the Broadway community and I know how it works. And just like you were saying something different, Angela, but it's similar to what you just said. When it goes and opens up, you're going to shuffle at that audition. You're going to change when they say be Blacker, you're going to be Blacker. So stop it. Just really stop. And the reason why I say that is because, I tried to attend the little 3-day symposium that they had. And the first day was the day where you get to express your experiences with racism in the theater. I think I lasted for a good 10 minutes.
Oh, boy.
Because it opened up with, I don't remember his name, but the young man talking about doing this Black play and the Black playwright. And how basically a situation happened, the playwright wasn't there. And I think somebody asked the question about, is the Black queer experience really like that? So I'm assuming that it was Daddy, and the play Daddy, and it was Jeremy O'Hara's play, which he is a whole other level of problematic. But basically, what I understood from that experience is that because he basically talked about how I guess he felt attacked by the cast and director, and there was nobody there present to support him, and he felt, this violence and terror. And I was just like,
Mm,
but part of that is you didn't have the language to advocate for yourself. Part of that is
mm,
that you don't, because the thing is that there's a particular language that you have to do when you're dealing with white folk.
Yeah.
If I can be really frank, and a lot of folk don't understand it, and they're afraid. I don't want to be the angry black person. I don't want to be do this and that. And like we talked about, Angela, in a private conversation, we talked about how the real situation is that they will fire you, they will blackball you,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
and make it to where you can't even have opportunities. But my thing is that where is your integrity? Because I would never sit in a room of anybody letting them berate me, letting them demean my
mm.
experience. And so for me, I had to turn it off because I was like, there's a bigger problem here that you don't know how to advocate for yourself.
Oop,
I was going to say he probably had a similar experience as Jeremy O'Harris and his
right.
daddy, and I mean the quotations, I mean daddy, not daddy. But, you know, but like, I think that the part of the reason is, I know part of the reason is that racism continues um, and persists is because we're afraid to advocate for ourselves. We're afraid to speak up, and for me, I just couldn't participate any longer because I was just like, that's the conversation that needs to be
Mm,
had. Because you're not going to change these folk. Like, they're going to remain the
yeah.
same.
Uh-huh.
And so if you need to understand that that is just what it is, but you still have the space to advocate for yourself. I just probably would have shut the conversation
Mm.
down and said, we need to continue because you all don't know that you're being offensive, and I don't have the time to teach you.
I have to add
Ooh.
something to that. I feel like that on top of that fear, it's also, artists, most of us are not extremely wealthy. And so these jobs are sources of income for people, sometimes on their last leg. And
Well, this child was a Broadway actor. You know what I'm saying? This child was a Broadway actor, so I can't. I understand what you're saying on like the ground level, but no, mm-mm.
the other part of that
Uh,
too, for me as a person in a different generation than you all,
mhm.
um,
You know
how
that people are
how
reading you or coming for you for keep saying that we in a different generation. And so
we are, it's a
Now, what
multi-generational
I
is
show.
mine?
understand
Now,
that.
wait, what is
Um,
mine? Kenzie, are we in the same one?
But I'm not gonna put you out there like that. I'm not gonna put you out there like
Because,
that.
see, I think I need people to see me at the same time they see my age because I don't look
Absolutely,
the way up to
absolutely,
my age.
absolutely. You better tell it. You better tell it.
yeah.
Look, and you light skinned too, and you lucky because you don't have that trauma that some light skinned folk have.
Oh, God.
So my question to both of you really is, how do those of us who are like newly coming into this business, how do we deal with these situations and, navigate these spaces where we may not have a name for ourselves yet or credits. And so like, how do we, deal with that?
Your first question, AT, I've thought about that, and particularly like the kids who are also now being affected by the pandemic, who are just getting out of conservatory or just deciding to come to New York or LA or whatever. And I was thinking in my head, I don't even know what to tell y'all. Because there is it's more to it than exposing the lack of diversity and the lack of respect for Black people in the theater. It's juxtaposed with what's happening socially. So those things have both been going on all the time, and one kind of exposed the other. So what's going to happen if we don't quell, get the police killings under control, which we probably won't for a while? How does that affect white folks and how they deal with Black people in the theater when it comes to hiring and treatment and rehearsals? And honestly, I don't think they know, because also against all of that is they're losing millions of dollars So their whole situation is going to be different because they're going to have to be trying to figure out how to juggle all these things at once.
So I think that what I would say, AT, I didn't think about these, kids coming out of conservatory. I don't know what I would have done if I was coming out of PCM at this time. I don't know. I literally don't. And the thing is that we did our showcase in March, and that's basically when the pandemic started.
Wow.
So I don't know what I would have done. But what I would say to you is, first of all, create stuff. We're doing this podcast together. You're working on your one-man show. Keep doing that. Keep writing, keep creating. Because like Angela said at the beginning, we need to do it for ourselves. Secondly, it's what I said before. Because the thing is that that's why I think this whole movement right now is foolish. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Black folk, the participate, because the thing is that racism is not going anywhere. And I'm gonna just I have a long theory about it, but I'm gonna just give you the short. And it's because this country has not publicly apologized to Black people, and until this country atones their greatest sin, racism is going to be pervasive. So trying to be like, stop, 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 this begging foolishness it is absurd. It's out of control. What I will say to you is that you simply have to find their language, which you already have, and advocate for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can respectfully say, I'm not going to have this conversation. You also got to use the words they use. You're being very violent. This is abusive. I don't feel safe. Once you start using that language, they back the fuck off. Okay? And so I think that, that is what has to happen. I think that there needs to be more collaboration. Folk need to write, because I'll also say my biggest problem with the We See You movement, I said what you need to be asking for is them to be allowing authentic Blackness to be portrayed on stage. That's what you need to be. That's what you need to be demanding. Okay? Because there are few shows that I go to where I say, oh, I understand that experience. I've seen that experience. I really feel like the last show, I mean, I haven't been seeing a lot of shows lately just because I haven't been moved to, but the last show where I felt that was George C. Wolfe's iteration of Shuffle Along. I thought that, it was just a beautiful Black history lesson. It really was. That show too was about 20 minutes too long, but it, it was an amazing Black history lesson. And maybe before that it was Fela. So when I'm saying
One
all
of the
that
best
to say
things on Broadway, I swear.
one of the best things on Broadway, in this century, and so I'm saying, like, you need to create more, you need to be writing, you need to collaborate more. That is what people need to do. And we got to produce our own stuff. That is the long and short of it, I think.
Well, I think I was being pessimistic in that moment when you asked me that, 18. But I absolutely agree with Kinsey 100%. What you're probably, or you're already doing, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing the envelope.
I do think, and maybe this is wishful thinking, I generally don't live in optimism, I live in realism. But what I think is that this pandemic is going to create space for better actors, better writing, and better performances. That's what I think. And so I think that this is the perfect time for you as a young artist to get in the door. Because I think that you have the ability, and you also have what it takes to create that kind of change.
I accept that. Thank you.
You're welcome, child.
Go forth, young man. Go forth.
I met Angela 18 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
We were doing a little-known play called Once on This Island. And I said this to Angela privately, but I think it's important to say it publicly. I remember during that time, Angela was very self-conscious about her acting. She knew she could sing, but she was very self-conscious about her acting. And I don't remember what I said to her, but I said some things. And You know, Angela, I have to tell you, when I saw your performance as Jacky Clark Chisholm, I was so proud of you.
Ugh.
I was so very proud of you. Um, any any insecurities or challenges or doubts that you have about your acting capabilities, you really just need to turn that voice off and shut it down, because your performance was very good. It was a fine
Yes.
performance. Um, and I'm just so happy for you, and I'm excited to see your journey.
Ugh.
Same.
I'm glad there's no video.
Are you crying?
Yeah.
Okay, I held mine in. I was about to tear too, but I held it in.
Oh, well, Kinsey, that means that means so much to me, and that just being transparent, because that's the only way we gonna help each other is to be transparent. That was a really tough time for me,
Yeah.
because it was a show that I loved, but I just felt like I didn't belong there. I was made to feel that way, and then I
Right.
started to believe it, and I was crying, but there was something. The crying was a release, because I had taken it what you said and said, okay, you're gonna go home, you're gonna eat some lunch, you're gonna chill out, and you're gonna go back to rehearsal, and you're gonna fucking do it. And you're gonna do it every day, and you're gonna do your best every day. If you gotta stay up and work on these steps in this room, or work on your whatever you're gonna do. I go back to that moment when all these times in my career that I've been doubting myself, even in big moments, and I'm like, no, Ange, don't do that. Like, you can do this. Like, you're not some random schmandom who is clueless. So I from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate you saying that, and about the performance. It means so much, and I just love you.
I love you too, my dear. Y'all know I be reading the people. If it was whack, I would tell you.
I already
I
know.
would tell you.
You would have gave me notes on what I could have done better.
You know I would have.
But you know what? I mean, it wasn't really nothing you could have did with that part, because the writing was terrible. But
it was terrible. But in that other scene, I am unsure what you were trying to convey. My suggestion,
which goes to show your director is what were they doing? Why didn't they catch that? If I could catch that, why didn't they catch that?
Right. Yeah, you know me very well.
Oh, yes, I do.
Angela, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you on our
thank
show.
you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Kenzie, can you tell us what the next episode is about?
We're going to be recapping all of these debates that have transpired and why y'all need to go out and vote.
This ain't a Sippin' See.
But